31st. We want to welcome everybody to the Dr. William Mackey's lecture series in commemoration. Great scholar, Dr. William Mackey Jr. Our next meeting would be 2 weeks from now, which, let me find the calendar. What day? 13th. 2 weeks from now will be August 14th. Bring a friend. And for all the historians who gave up, I was just talking with Sister Keisha, Brother Amos, and Matthew, all the historians that gave up fame and fortune, big plates of food, a lot of money, big houses, all kind of props that society gives the individual to lie, distort history. They have paid the price. Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, you name it. Horace Benicia Perez, Malcolm X. I remember Mackey was pissed off in the basement one time when Skip Gates had the nerve to call these great men pseudo-scholars.
Yeah.
Right.
He was smack Skip the next
He was pissed. Professor Mackey would never, on Brooklyn Avenue in St. Mark's, Professor Mackey would never close his door. His door stayed open, Barnes books. And you could go in there, just like Barnes and Noble, where you could go down there and sit there all day and read. Professor Mackey, you could go to his house and sit there all day and read. You could never take a book out of it.
Smart man.
And I remember we went to this guy, he spoke at the Jewish Center, and he knew so much they was pissed off at him. They was cursing the guy out. The guy said, "What are you talking about? You told me to bring the best, and I brought the best. So, what do you mean?" So there's a lot of things happening. You know, I was listening to, we saw Alton Saturday at Fannie Clark's 1-year anniversary, the barbecue out in Elmhurst. I tell you, the man was happy to see us.
Yes, sir.
Doing good. He definitely needs support. Good, bad, or indifference, he too has paid the ultimate price.
That's right.
His eyes lit up. James and Andy was there, Bryce and a few other people. But when he saw Mike, me walk in there, he was so happy. And you know, good, bad, or indifference, we are all we got in this day and time. Amos used to say, "You mean to tell me you're going to throw all the good stuff that Elijah Muhammad did out of the window because of some women? The greatness of this man? The things that he have did? And you're going to dismiss all that for some little sidebar stuff? You can't do that. Baltimore's looking good, and good, bad, or indifference. All that stuff we got to get humble and throw it to the side, because it really means nothing when you really look at it. And in this day and time of organization, and just us getting together, and what plans that this America has, black folk, you better be a part of it. And Mackey used to say, "We are the glue."
Right.
He used to say, "We are the glue that they are worried about. We are the glue."
Yes, sir.
So the differences have to be put aside, especially strong organizations, strong people that go beyond the call of duty. I am not gonna I thought about Steve Coakley when Trump was saying the goods on everybody. So you gotta remember, before Trump was president and the people that picked him, they already looked at what he had did through the years. They already knew what type of person he was. But before he started all this, everybody and their mama wanted to take a picture with him in front of Trump Tower.
That's right.
It was old footage of him and every celebrity and every politician out. And I remember he told Bill and Hillary, "What are you talking about? Last week you just asked for $150,000 for the Clinton Foundation. Go sit your ass down. Shut up." You gotta remember, you had casinos all over. And you know what they say, what stays in Vegas, what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. So the secrets are there. So I was happy when he called out, "Come in and shop." I thought about Steve Coakley and all the stuff that Coakley had to do. All the stuff that Coakley coming to the UAM, bringing out stuff on the bootleg, and how they came after him in the book. And he was dedicated. I said, he's probably laughing right now. Because if anybody knows secrets, I believe he knows the secrets of all. And I tell you, I go down to Baltimore. I'm a 12-stepper. But I know some people that got smoked down there. And it is devastating down there. In the hub of the Black Wax Museum, where all the history in the world is in. And black life means nothing when you're in that side of the corner. And the abandoned buildings and all that stuff down there, and the scariness when it gets dark. Don't tell you they smoked my nephew down there. They didn't give a shit. And just a massive drug addiction and drugs coming in through the port of Baltimore and no jobs, and how we get trapped off in this system. And then you look at all the money that they give these two-meal politicians. And I know the system might not want them to spend it, but come on, they're giving them too much money for them not to do more. And just massive black folks suffering through people like myself that used to get high, committing crimes and this and that, didn't give a shit, trying to get high, busting people in the head and all that. They just didn't care. Let them kill each other up.
That's right.
Let the blacks kill each other up. And Amos's book, Black on Black Violence, is impeccable. I had a hard time reading it because every time I turned around, I had to find a dictionary. Because I was miseducated and uneducated at the same time. I had to find a dictionary to look at all the big words. I did not know what I was reading. And one thing about trust, when you go to trust on Wednesday out and on Friday out in Newark, by the time you read a page of the book, you actually have to go into the time and history of the page you read before you even go to the second page.
That's right.
You go there 8 months, I'm still on page 9. It's unbelievable. So I thought I was knowing something. I ain't know nothing. But good, better, or difference, the little money the system gives them, they should be able to do more with what's going on in Baltimore. Because they will smoke you quick. And a lot of black folks are suffering and all of the abandoned buildings and this and that, this and that. So I'm not letting them off the hook. I am happy they called them out. Because when we call them out, people curse us out. Then I was listening, you had some people down there actually trying to defend it. Well, you know, every major city has bad areas. In Brooklyn, East New York, Bedford-Stuyvesant, and all that. They all have bad areas. And then some has good areas. That's the only thing they do.
That's part of the program.
So all the flunkies coming out of the woodwork to try to protect themselves.
Crying.
So what I'm just saying is that it's good to see everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just good to be amongst. You have to remember, it's just good to be amongst us.
That's right.
To be together. There's so much confusion where you know it's a place twice a month, and we're going to build this organization one member at a time. Where you have to have in your heart that you want to be around some good people. Some strong people, people that care. That's what this is about. Now, there's other organizations that do stuff, but there's other organizations that we know about. But this right here, and all of Professor Mackey, William Mackey Jr., and Dr. Ben, and all of them, the ones that gave up, that didn't eat all the time. My friend Robert used to give a potluck dinner on 155th Street and 8th Avenue. That's where he lived. I met him through the 12-step program. And my wife would bring a plate. His wife would cook. Other people would cook from the conscious community. And we'd bring the food up there. And Amos would come up there and talk for a plate of food, a nice dinner, and just to be amongst people. Who was very rare, used to come down here and speak for hours. Hours. And then we walk him back to Ocean Avenue and he still would speak. So historians need people to sit there and listen because they can talk and they can talk. Because in this day and time, what they're saying about us, nobody's taking up. Nobody's stepping up to the plate and defending us. I mean, on the job, in restaurants, in lunchrooms, the media, on transit buses, in cabs. They are talking about us like we are nothing. And we are unable, a few of us can defend ourselves because the history is there. Where when somebody says something, you have to be able to come back with them and put them in check immediately.
That's right.
Immediately, you have to know something about them because they study us 24 hours a day, just so they can be in a lunchroom, a bathroom, on some job, around a tea party, at some barbecue, and they can just talk about black folks like it ain't nothing. And then we just start, because we don't have the ammunition about them, we come back at them and talk. And we just start grinning. Just be silent and just want to get along. I know, I worked at transit 31 years, and I've never missed a union meeting. And one time, I said, Professor Mackey, I need a book on the New York City Transit Authority. So I go to the union meetings, a whole bunch of Irish boys. And Mackey told me to get this book called In Transit, the history of the Transport Workers Union from the beginning in the early 1900s to about 1974. He also told me to get the book, The Man Who Ruled the Subways, Michael J. Quill, who was an international stick-up kid in Ireland. Stick-up kid. Who they say the stick-up kids are? Us. And every time I went to that union meeting, them Irish boys said, "Who was the black motherfucker know that? Where do you get this information from?" That's a matter. So, I'm going to get off my soapbox.
That's good.
The format of the meeting is the speaker, co-host of 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement, who can also co-host of the baddest radio program on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, comes on every Tuesday at 5 o'clock. And you tune in, and you could call in and ask any question you want. You could call in and say what you want to say. Also, Saturdays at 10:30, Blog Talk Radio, Sister Empress Chi, from 10:30 to sometime after 12 o'clock
PM.
And you can call in and listen, and let's go. Sister Keisha will be back home with her information in a little while. She will have some information. Also, sometime we go to Trust's group. We're going to be doing that again, which is unbelievable. You know, so the information is there. You know, of course, but without further ado, speaker's going to speak. We're going to, from the next 10 minutes, if you got anybody that want to say anything, community events that they want to say, till 8 o'clock or 5 after 8, the speaker will come on counterintelligence and the plot to destroy black organizations. He's going to speak from a little after 8, maybe to a quarter after 9. We will have a break. We have croissants. We have juice. I got a watermelon we bought from Costco. We're gonna slice it up nice and cold. It's been sitting in the refrigerator for almost 6 hours. We got some refreshments, coffee. You know, it's beautiful. For the taking them, you come back, and if you have questions and answers, anything you want to ask them, you answer, you can ask. But we want him to get into his lecture without any interruption. We pass a little collection, pay the rent, that we buy the refreshments, you know. So without further ado, anybody that has any community books that they want to let us know to get or want to say anything, you can come up here and it's yours.
My name is Edwin Lord. I just want to let you know that they're supposed to be in theaters tomorrow, in Color Spot. Okay? It's going to be debuting in LA, Los Angeles, California. It's going to be tomorrow and Friday. Okay? It's going to be 7 p.m. showing and 10 p.m. 7 a.m. learning, so I can say. They say you can also go to their website and see there's a location that they also plan on movie at as well. Okay? So if you're interested in seeing Hidden Colors number 5, you can either try to go to California or go to their website at hiddencolorsfilm.com, and they can probably tell you other locations where some showing the movie at. It's supposed to be 2 hours long, so we're supposed to be talking about that too, things like that. So if you're interested in it, Hidden Colors 5, they will be free.
Hiddencolorsfilm.org?
Yeah,
The publisher, so I can get Professor Mackey's book down home. And I'm going to try to get some copies, so this way you will know what Professor William Mackey was about. Before I get to Leroy, I was reading this book, The Great Negro Plot, a tale of conspiracy and murder in 18th century New York. And this is one thing when I first read it, I just want to say what the first paragraph. This book was published, and this is what trust teaches us to do before we even think about saying anything you got to say. The book was published by Bloomsbury in USA, distributed to the trade. Hospital Link Publishers, 175 Fifth Avenue. And this way, when you open up a book, you check the publisher, and you can look the publisher up and find out what it's about. But I'm going to say this. This was in 1712. Beware of the Africans, Caramantes, Papas, and the Aki Asante, kidnapped from West Africa shores and brought to the ocean side. Warriors with anger and reason and nothing to lose, trained in the art of guerrilla tactics as part of their rights of manhood. Fear them, Caucasians of the colonies, for they are men born into humanity, raised to be the inheritance of society, not the beast of it. They will lead, and the rest of the slaves will follow. Those other wenches whose own belief in their equality was a rumor off the Nile. Beware, colonists, for now it is your dying time. It has been 2 years since the stolen members of their tribe have been transported to the cold forest islands. How long had they caged their stolen weapons in the woods north of the village for this moment? How many outrages against their humanity they had to endure solely because they knew this time of retribution would come. That is not in our blood today, because we are not taking up enough. We are not bringing not even a little bit of information to what society is saying about us in this 21st century. The Great Negro Plot by Mac Johnson.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, this is a catalog, toolsforfreedom.com. I'm going to pass it along later, so you can take a look at it. Now, this is on catalog. It talks about secret societies, UFOs, things of that nature.
sells DVDs, CDs, and it's about it has things on health too, on your health. All right, so I'll pass it on later on. I passed it on earlier, but I'll pass it on later on again. All right. So tools4freedom.com. It's a catalog. You can take the number down, call on order for a catalog, and order DVDs and CDs. All right. Here's a newspaper I read every now and then, American Free Press. It's also a website too for this. This newspaper here talks about news that you don't get on regular, like on television, like Eyewitness News, CBS. This also talks about mostly about secret societies and who's controlling the world and world events. All right.
Where can you get that?
This? Okay, I order it. There's a telephone number and there's also a website. So you can call the number inside here.
Okay.
Also there's an address too you can write to. You can write them too. So you can take out the number and call them and have them send the catalog. All right. Oh, by the way, this is a weekly. For 1 year. 1 year subscription is $59. Also another thing too, they do books too. They have books that they do too on the subject. All right. Okay, and that's about it. Anybody else? Yeah.
No, I just want to, could you repeat them 2 books about transit that you said Matt recommended to you back in the days?
In Transit, the history of the Transport Workers Union from its beginning to about 1974, and the other book of The Man Who Ruled Subways, the story of Michael J. Wood. Anybody else with anything?
Just to give thanks to all of you for the 3 weeks that I was here. And the money contributed, we were able to purchase 10 pairs of sneakers for 10 children.
And don't worry if you missed anything else, you'll be back. We're going to bring the speaker on, Brother Michael Graves. I didn't have a podium, but it was a little bit too small. When I put it together, it was like almost like that.
Reverend knows I'd rather stand than sit.
We're going to bring a podium, so just maybe put your stuff in it. I got it cheaply on eBay, and it was only this.
You need to stop doing that.
Say I am.
I am.
Because we are. I am.
I am.
Because we are.
Because we are.
Good to see everybody tonight. I see my sister back there. Hi. Haven't seen you in a while. Don't turn around. It's you. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, she is a troublemaker. I'm going to talk about intelligence and counterintelligence tonight, and she would be a perfect person to be in the FBI. See, I know she can change her voice. She don't know I know that. But see, I've heard her on the radio several times, and each time I hear is a different voice. And it almost takes me halfway into her call, I say, wait, I know who that is, because she's always changing her voice. So that stuff ain't gonna work with us, because we already know, the skills you have and the talent you've developed over the years. In any event, it's good to see people. I haven't seen Brother Brian in a long time. Good to see our warrior from Seawolf here tonight. Good to see you, and certainly my brother that goes back so long, my brother Charles Bryce. It's good to see him, and good to see everybody here tonight. Now, from the outset, let me just prepare you, just in case. If the attorney at war walks in, I'm going to step right out of the seat that I'm in and give him the floor. The attorney at war, in case someone was sleeping like Rip Van Winkle, don't know who that is, that's Alton H. Maddox Jr., the baddest attorney we ever had here in New York. The baddest. Now, one of the baddest ever in the country. I'm not going to say he's the most skilled attorney ever, but he's certainly among the boldest ever. If you were to look at their work, you would have to agree that Alton Maddox is one of the boldest, if not the best, he's the boldest. There are other attorneys that are just as skilled in the law, but what has differentiated Alton Maddox from other attorneys is his boldness and certainly his love for our people and the undying way that he takes every case personal. You know, a court officer once said to Alton Maddox, you know, I've seen you in the court for a while, and that you take all these cases personal like you on trial. And he realized that just from seeing him. And then somebody that didn't know Alton, just a court officer that had seen him in the courtroom, realized that that's the profundity, the dexterity that he puts into a trial. So it doesn't matter whether you paid Alton or not. It doesn't matter whether you paid him. He's going to fight for you like you're giving him $1 million. Because once he steps into the courtroom, he's on trial. That's the beauty of that man. Now, again, if he walks in the door, after I announce him, I'm going to step off and let him come sit right here. And he can talk about anything he wants to. He deserves that much. He's just that good. He's been cast aside, and there's some people that when they saw him Saturday, they didn't even realize who it was. And there's some people that were there in the backyard that didn't even know him. I think it's somewhat of a shame if you've been in New York all these years and you don't know who Alton Maddox is, or something about him. You know, that's a tragedy, because I'll tell you, if you were Jewish and you had a Jewish attorney that damn good, that fights for our people on that level, whether they got the money or not, and they stood up for Jewish causes, every Jewish person in this city would teach their children to respect that man. That's the difference. So I'm just saying that there would be a need for Alton Maddox, even if we didn't like him, even if we disagreed. As I said yesterday on Community College, one of the most mature things you could ever say to a brother or sister is, I disagree with everything you just said, but I will fight to defend your right to say it. Because we don't censor each other. At United African Movement, everybody came in there. We didn't all think alike. We're not monolithic. Some of us disagree with things that we see each other doing. We disagree with some things that you saw the Black Panthers did. We disagree with some things that you saw the Nation of Islam do. We disagree with things that Dr. King did. Some of us would never do some of the things that Dr. King did. As a matter of fact, it would almost be contemptuous to ask some of you to do some things that Dr. King did. However, would you hate that man because he did it, because he was fighting his way? Now, there's some open interpretation on was he independent? Was he totally independent? Or did he sometimes have to cut deals behind closed doors? Certainly, we can have that kind of discussion. But you wouldn't reject that man on the surface just for fighting for our people, because he did some good things. If you was in Malcolm's camp, you wouldn't agree with Dr. King. If you was in MLK's camp, you would disagree with Malcolm. If you was with Du Bois, you would disagree with God. And certainly if you was at Garvey, you would definitely disagree with divorce. So I'm just saying, we all sometimes are in various camps for various reasons. And we should respect all those that did a good work. So, in my respect for Ultimatics is clear. So, if he would have come in, I would say, or pick up where I left off at another time, maybe 2 weeks from now. But, you know, just wanted to say that about Ultimatics. Now, from the outset, as I always do, I'll ask a couple of questions to get your brain to circulate. And I'll ask you what I've always asked you, certain things that y'all should know. If I say who's on Mount Rushmore, come on, give that to me. Who's on Mount Rushmore?
George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abe Lincoln, and Roosevelt.
Say it again. Can you give me their complete names? Because some of those names, those last names have other, you know.
George Washington.
George Washington.
Abe Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
Roosevelt. And that's all his name.
Go ahead, there's one more you missed.
Teddy Roosevelt, Abe Lincoln, George Washington, and
help them out.
Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson.
Yes,
Thomas Jefferson, right.
That's it.
Right, Thomas Jefferson.
That's
Yeah,
it.
right, Thomas.
Thomas, yeah, you heard of Tom. One of these proper Negroes, like you know. Tom. I ain't never heard a black person say Tom Jefferson. All right, Thomas Jefferson. The thing was, the way you always remember that, you know from the outset, all of them are presidents.
Right.
Mount Rushmore, remember that.
Right.
Mount Rushmore, when you say that, that's synonymous with saying the highest.
Right.
So you already know from the outset, if somebody asks you about Mount Rushmore, you're talking about presidents. What about Stone Mountain? Not Howard, you already answered the last one.
Stone Mountain.
Who's on Stone Mountain? Come on, give me those.
Jefferson Davis.
What you said?
Jefferson Davis.
You saying it like you don't know.
I'm trying to remember all the names.
But you're right, Jefferson Davis. There's some clues to this. Anytime you say Jefferson Davis' name, and you know he was the Confederate president,
Right.
then you look around him. And now yet Robert E. Lee should come automatically. If you say who was his right-hand man, that's Robert E. Lee.
Yeah.
And who was Robert E. Lee's right-hand man? It's easy. Somebody just said it under their breath.
I know his last name. Yes.
Stonewall Jackson. All right? That's not hard. Once you got Jefferson Davis, the riddle is solved. Because you say, well, who's around Jefferson Davis? Robert E. Lee. Who's Robert E. Lee's man? Stonewall Jackson. This one might get you, but you know, somebody might know it. Last one, Seal of the Confederacy.
Say it again.
The Seal of the Confederacy is 3 names. The Seal of the Confederacy.
Perhaps when Davis, Jeff Davis, you won.
Seal of the Confederacy. You said Jefferson Davis?
Yeah, and the Klan guy, what you got?
No, you're wrong. Not Jefferson Davis. Seal of the Confederacy. He can't be on everything. He was an outlaw.
No, I'm trying to think of the Klan boy. Still a whole.
I was like, all of them are in the Klan.
Not the one that's 3600 people down in Fort Pillar in Tennessee.
No. Come on, get one. Get 1 out of 3. Okay, let me give you the first one. George Washington. See, y'all so used to just Confederates, y'all don't realize the Confederacy looked up to George Washington. He's the so-called father of the country. George Washington one. Come on, man. I'll give you a hint. I'll help you out. Another Virginia boy. Come on.
Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson. No,
Thomas Jefferson. When you think of Virginia, you can't help but think about Thomas Jefferson and, of course, George Washington. What about the last one?
Barack Obama.
Yeah, it could have been. Stonewall Jackson. Stonewall Jackson. Confederacy loves Stonewall Jackson. If you only knew. I'm almost tempted to do a lecture on the Confederacy now, and so, but we'll get back to that because it seems that y'all just don't know who white folks look up to. I'm saying that for a reason. We have to understand who they lift up. Nobody accidentally gets on Mount Rushmore.
No.
Nobody gets on Stone Mountain happenstance. Don't happen that way. If they say this is the seal of the Confederacy, when you think of the South, these are the three names you think of, you have to understand that. And if you guess, you shouldn't miss by much. But you got to understand at the top of that list on the seal of the Confederacy is George Washington. Yes, brother.
What's the seal of the Confederacy?
It's a way of honoring the best of the best.
It's like a presidential seal or something like that?
It's like a seal. They have it on the monuments. They have it in their top museums, military academies, you know, and it's called the seal of the Confederacy. I mean, if they isolate three people, obviously the first thing you should think of is why? How did they distinguish themselves? Why 4 presidents on Mount Rushmore? What did they do? I've gone over that with you. Why they on Mount Rushmore? Why they on Stone Mountain? Why are they on the seal of the Confederacy? We need to know that. What month is Confederacy Month anyway?
February.
No, February, Black History Month. It's April. If you ever down south in April, you will see white folks acting out. They have actually, in places like Georgia, Mississippi, they have recreations of black folks acting like slaves, dressing like slaves and going through that whole process.
Still?
To this day, yes. Go to Mississippi. Yes.
We also have a celebration in Brazil too.
In Brazil.
Yes, Redneck.
Wow. What's it called?
Redneck Confederate Parade. I'll show you.
Well, they also, you have to remember.
In Brazil?
Yeah, you see, you have to remember, with Brazil, the largest African population was taken to Brazil, South America. You have to remember that. So, yes, a lot of black folks was dropped off in the Caribbean, Central and South America, but the largest amount was taken to Brazil. That's still to this day the largest African grouping outside of Nigeria. To this very day, Brazil. The largest amount of black folks in any one area, in any one state, other than Nigeria. Nigeria is number 1. Brazil is number 2. Now, don't go over there expecting them to call themselves African.
No, they don't play that.
They don't call themselves African. As a matter of fact, they have
Portuguese.
They have a minimum of at least 20 different names they call themselves, probably even more. If you ask a black person who they are, what they are, they will give you so many different names it will make your head spin. And all those names, you will actually think that those names are legit because that's what they don't say I'm black. They don't say I'm African or Brazilian. They got all these different names. So I'm not surprised when Keisha says that they have a celebration of the Confederacy in Brazil because the largest amount of us, more so than Trinidad, Jamaica, or any of these other places, Brazil. And they look just like us, but they think different. They don't think of themselves as African people. Some of them. Now we got something to do. They got a very strong conscious community in Brazil, very strong. And know who they are. They even have, they have a very strong community that know who they are in Australia. The white folks call them Aborigines because they admit that they were there before them. But you know, that's just food for thought. Let's get started with this. From the outset, when you think of counterintelligence, first, before we even go into counterintelligence, what's intelligence? Somebody give me an answer. But what's intelligence?
Gathering information.
What's that?
Gathering information.
Gathering information. That's a good answer. Anybody else?
Classified information. Information that's not privileged to the public. Classified inside information. Not everybody knows about it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Anybody else? For these?
Intelligence?
What?
Well, what did you just ask?
What's intelligence? If somebody said to you, I work in intelligence, or I'm an intelligence officer, what do you think their job would be? Yes, brother.
Collect information from the other side.
What's that?
You collect information from the
Collecting information.
opposition side.
For what?
From the other side, not from your people, from the other people.
No, I'm just saying intelligence, not for any particular people. I just want people to understand what intelligence is. But most of you are there, basically, is collecting information.
For somebody, or just
Well, I'm just saying, yeah, it's purpose behind it. So it's for somebody. But I'm just saying, when you say you are in intelligence, you're an intelligence gatherer for the most part. You're compiling information for whatever the reason might be. Whether it's personal or whether it's organizational, job related, but it's collecting information.
It doesn't have to be an adversary too. It can also
It doesn't have to be an adversarial. No, it doesn't. Now, what's counterintelligence?
going against it.
misdirected.
Say it again?
It's going against the collective information.
Yes, that's part of it. Yeah, that's a good answer.
And misdirection of information also.
No, it's not misdirected.
Is it misleading information?
No,
You know the source?
no, it's not misleading. It's somebody.
You're
Undirected?
collecting information for the purpose of using it in a different way.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
In other words, it's utilizing that information for a specific purpose, and for the most part, counterintelligence means you're going to use that information you just gathered against somebody. You're going to use it. Obviously, the names that would come to you immediately would be people like the J. Edgar Hoovers of the world, people like that. But there were people prior to him that set this ship to move, and we need to know who they are and what they did. Now, I know some of you, if you heard me say we're going to deal with counterintelligence, I know it's on some of you are thinking that I'm talking about COINTELPRO. That's the aspect, the counterintelligence program that was used to disrupt and destabilize black organizations, black community in general. That's an aspect of counterintelligence, but instead of giving you examples, which you would find in COINTELPRO, I want you to understand it fully what that is. If I said, what's predictability? What's predictability? If I say something is predictable, what am I talking about? What's that?
Yeah, you know what's going to happen before that.
But this is that. Expected.
What is expected to happen?
Something expected to happen.
That's not.
Now, if I say something is plausible, what am I talking about?
Possible.
It's possible. If I say it's plausible, that means it's possible. That means it's believable. Which means, if I show you something and your eyes see it, you're going to believe it.
Right.
You're going to believe it because it's plausible. something you see is plausible. Because you saw it.
Yeah.
Or you think you saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Or you heard something.
Yeah.
So it's plausible. Possible, you know. Very much possible is believable. It's acceptable. Because you saw it, somebody close to you saw it, or you heard somebody give you an account from a primary source. So it's plausible. What about calculating? When you say I'm calculating something, what are you saying?
It adds up. 1 and 1 makes 2. If you do this move, you do that move.
Okay, that's an arithmetic.
The processing.
What about in the course of human affairs? When you say I'm calculating, what are we talking about?
Trying to determine the degree of possibility.
Assessing the situation.
You assessing the situation,
Yeah.
but you're looking for a certain outcome. That's why when you say a certain big person is calculating, they're looking for a certain outcome. They're not just going to let it happen on its own course. You want it to happen a certain kind of way.
Yeah, I would say you're trying to make something happen.
You're trying to make it happen, absolutely, no doubt.
Yeah, 911. Like World Trade Center. That was calculated, well planned, calculated.
Perhaps.
JFK
Perhaps.
assassination.
Depends on who you talk to.
Right.
Some might just say that, you know, some people with box cutters did that. Some might say that, you know, the door was open for that to happen. So it depends on who you're talking to. But these are aspects of intelligence, and one that I'm going to use that Keisha uses a different word. Keisha always talks about infiltration, infiltrating. I like to use a different word. I call it penetrating. When you say something is penetrating, what is that?
Nigga going in.
Say that again?
Making a nigga in.
You're in.
Yeah.
You went in.
Right.
So when you say you penetrated, that means you went into something. Is that right?
Yeah.
To enter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or physically.
Yes, but you penetrated something. Because in order to be effective, you have to penetrate.
Right.
Because you can't use that information until you can penetrate the defenses of another body. Now, let me just give you some graphic examples so we'll know. The strength of a wolf is the pack. Did everybody get that? The strength of the wolf is the pack. The way wolves hunt today is the same way they hunted 10,000 years ago.
Yeah.
The same way they hunted 10,000 years ago, same way they hunted 100,000 years ago. Now, I mentioned the wolf in the canine family because, from what I understand, he is the original canine.
Right.
All canines came from the wolf. Therefore, the wolf sets the precedent, and he hunts in a pack. To this day, the law is you cannot have a wolf in your household.
Right.
You know why?
Can't be domesticated.
He cannot be domesticated. In other words, you can't break his will. Now, a lot of us here are domesticated.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm for real.
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
pointing to nobody in particular. As a matter of fact, let's just say, don't we all know somebody that's domesticated?
Absolutely.
We know some people that do white folks big without the white folks even.
They big money.
Is that right?
Right.
Now, you can't domesticate a zebra either. That's why you don't see nobody riding around on a zebra's back. Because he gonna buck.
That's right. Walk you hard.
He gonna buck. He ain't gonna let you ride in it. Now, when the zebra see all them other horses, They call him Uncle Tom. Say, look at you, you weak. You come from me and you weak. You've been domesticated. Well, speaking of a zebra, now that's oftentimes a lion's dinner, right? They catch zebras, tear them up. How do they do it? Zebras run in a group, right?
Right.
I'm coming to something now. I'm talking about animals, but I'm coming to something.
Anyway.
They run in a pack, right? Zebras. Lions have a problem running down zebras. You know why?
They hunt alone.
Because why?
They hunt alone. Sometimes hunt alone.
No, lions don't hunt alone. Lions hunt in a pride. If you see a lion by itself, he's alone. Lions hunt in a pride, in a pack, just like the wolf. Right. Now, no, they always. You know, there's some big cats that are solitary, not a lion. Lion believes in family.
Right.
They have family connections. They hunt as a group. They eat as a group. Now, a lion is what you would call an apex predator. You know what an apex predator is?
Top of the heap.
Top of the line.
Yeah.
No nonsense, straight to the point. They don't play. Now, the same way they hunted 10,000 years ago, same way they hunt now. When they go after zebras, do you know if zebras stay in the group, they got a chance?
Correct.
The lines, the stripes in a zebra, it mess up lions. The stripes. Because a lion likes to isolate body parts. It's very difficult to isolate body part. All these words I'm using is all kind of counterintelligence. I hope y'all get this. I said isolation. Y'all got to get this. If the zebras run together, which they do, the lion has to do something to make one zebra move out of step. He bent instead of bop. That's what they want to do. So they're going to do something. And even though they all running together, and they jumping, and they circling, they doing everything together, and that pride is on them, they know somebody's gonna break the code. Betray the order and step out. In other words, they all running this way. They're gonna see a nice clean path right there, and one of them gonna step away. And the one that stepped away is gonna be here dinner. The one that broke the order is going to be the lion's dinner. They know that stay on them, somebody's going to go the wrong way. One going to be nervous, or one going to get tired of running. Probably a young one,
Or the old.
or if they old. Because lions exploit existing weaknesses. I'm giving you another term you have to know in counterintelligence. Existing weaknesses. That's what they do. That's what wolves do. They will sense the weak one. A wolf will see one animal, a deer that's limping. That's the one they're going after. They're not going after the strong ones. They're going to find the one that's limping. And when they take off, they're going to stay on them, they're going to get them. Now, if the white man has studied zebras and he studied lions, the white man studied bees, ants, how they attack, how they protect the queen. So he knows us well. I'm saying that for a reason. Now, to destroy a black organization, it doesn't take much, and I'm saying that from history. Most black organizations, especially if there's not a belief system It's not hard to penetrate. And some, even if they do have a belief system, if they are philosophically based, you find a way to penetrate. You find a weak link. And you exploit it. It's easy to be in an organization and you find one person who's talking about the leader, talking about somebody else. You don't know what that person, listen to what they're saying. Now you already know that you got a weak link. The same way that zebra ventured off from the group and became the den of the lion. The same way the wolf sees that deer that's limping and exploits that. This is the way they exploit our organization. There are mistakes that are made by organizations, even strong organizations. There are mistakes that are made, and those mistakes, some of them are natural. People make mistakes every day. People mistime things. A person will come late to something that's very important. But for the most part, if there's not a serious structure, if there's not a very serious structure, you can penetrate. Because you have to have a periphery that makes it difficult for the enemy to penetrate. You know, you see beehives, how complicated beehives are. You see how lions, when they sleep, they have lions that are on guard around the periphery. And you see that that even the male lions, they don't even do much hunting. No. Most of the hunting, the majority of the hunting is done by females. Right? If they having trouble with a bull, and this bull is over 1,000 pounds, gigantic and enormous, and for whatever reason, the females can't kill it and bring it down, only then do you see the male lion come and just snatch him, grip that throat, and it's over. Most of the time, they just watch it, while the females are tearing these big, gigantic bulls, you know, 2,000 pounds, up. And in that particular case, that shows that they're the defenders and protectors of the pride, but the women are the hunters, and they're the ones, the females also nurture the young ones and teach them how to hunt. So when it's their turn, they'll know. That's all part of the process. We're supposed to teach the youth. The youth should not be out there teaching themselves. That's the problem we have now. The youth out here making a way for themselves instead of us teaching them. And the skills that they develop are skills that hurt many of us in this room. Because if they want some money, they're going to get that money one way or the other. If they want to get high, if they want to, you know, buy something for their girlfriend, if it's holiday season, they're going to find a way to make ends meet. That's important. But in lion school, you learn to be a lion, right? In eagle school, you learn to be an eagle. They don't let a chicken hawk in there. Can't no turkey, no other bird come among eagles. They're not having it. Only eagles are with eagles. And you know they know nonsense. They will leave their young in the nest and go miles away. It almost look like they're in another state. And they will tear something up and bring the food back and put it right in that nest and make sure that their young ones eat. I'm saying that for a purpose. Now, I asked you about what's plausible, what's predictable, how do you calculate? I didn't ask you about precipitate, but you know that's a part of intelligence. You know, knowing the temperature, and how to create the temperature, and then how to take advantage of that temperature. That's all a part of it. Now, organizations are structured in such a way before, and I'm going to go before counterintelligence, what's the first major civil rights organization? Was that?
NAACP.
NAACP. That's the first real major civil rights organization we developed. Who monitored them?
U.S. Army.
Who?
U.S. Army. You say who's
Very close. Can you be more specific?
What's his name? Walt Disney. He was spying on the NAACP.
No, what's the name? What's the name? Not a person.
Walt Disney.
Harold was very close.
The FBI?
Military Intelligence Division. At that time, the FBI, well, first of all, it wasn't the FBI. At the time I'm talking about, at the time of the NAACP and its founding, the best and one of the only intelligence gatherers, the top, was the Military Intelligence Division.
Your Spingarn.
Spingarn was a part of it.
Yeah.
Spingarn was a part of it. And these are people that later came into the NAACP. Moulton and others, Minton. Now, who's the father? And Keisha knows this because when I asked her before, she gave me a different reference point to this person. Who's Benet? Keisha. She called it the father of marketing, which I thought was interesting, because I didn't know that. Benet was the father of propaganda. See, I didn't know about, and he was also a master of social groups. And I remember when I did the lecture at UAM on it, and she said marketing. And I'm like, wow, I didn't hear that, but it makes a lot of sense. That his ideas can translate from social groups to also marketing strategy. So he was the father. Now, who was the father of propaganda in Germany? It's an easy answer.
Propaganda.
Who was the father of propaganda in the Third Reich?
What's it, Goebbels?
Goebbels, somebody said. Goebbels. He was, yeah. So, you have to remember that Benet got it from Gustav and Trotter. And they got it from Sigmund Freud. Because you have to examine the mind. And in examining the mind of an individual, now you expand that to group dynamics and get a better understanding of how people function as a group. And then you will apply the principles later of counterintelligence to destroy that group, disable it, or control it, depending on, yes sir?
I have a question. Did the military intelligence also monitor the people's strength?
Military Intelligence Division?
Yeah.
No, they didn't. In other words, that's a good question. Now he asked, it's not Q&A yet, but he asked, did the Military Intelligence Division, did they have intelligence on the Ku Klux Klan? Well, we had presidents, we had generals who always looked at the Ku Klux Klan, but not to destroy it, not to destabilize it, because actually what they did was, they always, and this is historical fact, they always preferred to have Southerners over black troops.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we know that in 1948, Truman broke up segregation in the armed services. But prior to Truman, I think it was 48, prior to that, black soldiers were in segregated units. And the Military Intelligence Division wanted to know, are they loyal? Will they get this training on how to fight and then use it against America? They wanted to know that. So they wanted to get an assessment of the level of dissent among black people. Now, what years were America involved in World War I?
41 to 45.
That's World War II, brother. What about World War I?
World War I, 17 to 18.
17
17 to 18.
Yeah, well, the war goes back to 14, but America's involvement, came a little later. And they wanted to know because they really was going to seriously do some serious training and allow blacks in separate units to fight. They didn't do much fighting everywhere. They was more support units than not. But in France, they fought. The French allowed them to fight side by side with French troops. As a matter of fact, the highest awards in World War I went to black troops, and they got, I hope I'm saying it right, the Croix de Guerre.
Yeah, across the wall. What it was?
The Croix de Guerre.
369, pick that up.
Yeah, because they were so outstanding.
Right.
Now, American generals, colonels, the leaders, told the French, don't count on blacks, they're not good, they don't have that kind of heart. That's not what the French said. The French said, these brothers are bad. They're bold, they can fight. In cold weather, inclement weather, doesn't matter whether it's raining, it's hot, these guys can get down. Gave them their highest awards. And allowed them to enjoy French women. I mean, they just went all out. Now Americans told the French, you ruined it. Said you ruined some real good soldiers. Because now they're going to come back to America and think they can mess with these white girls. Said the same way you let them go to town and they went through your town. Tore it up. Said now, you bringing them back, they're coming back to Mississippi and Georgia. And they're going to want some white stuff. So they're going to get a lesson. And they got that rude awakening as soon as they got back. That all that stuff you did in Europe is over. Okay? Now they use the Military Intelligence Division to check everybody out. Not only while they were in the military, but even after, because they was concerned about, is that training going to be taught to black organizations? So you had the Spengons, as Harold pointed out, of the world, that through the Military Intelligence Division, went all through all the NAACP chapters to make sure that they were not only not teaching battle tactics to others, encouraging people to fight instead of your traditional marches here and there, but wanted to know the level of dissent. And Spengard was investigating, Spengard and others, the NAACP was a white-controlled organization. It was not a black organization then, it's not a black organization now. It was blacks were, you could say, the cannon fodder. Whites were in the leadership in the NAACP. They financed it. Consequently, they called the shots. And when you call the shots, you can do that when you finance everything and you allow some black folks to live pretty good because they got the money coming in. So, Spengard was checking everybody out. the Military Intelligence Division. Now, you had prominent blacks who was in that organization at that time. And certainly you had Booker T, W.E.B. and others that were involved. As I've always pointed out, who's the two that walked away? Said we're not going to be a part of an organization that's controlled by white people. One sister and one brother.
Ida B. Wells.
Ida B. Wells was the black
one of
woman.
the founders, right?
She was one of the ones who said once she saw that white people controlled NAACP, she said out loud. Who was the black man? I give you a hint, one of the most brilliant black men on the planet. Come on, was it BC? No, it wasn't Du Bois, even though Du Bois is considered the scholar of scholars. But it was a black man at Harvard that did better than him at Harvard. You should know it now. Who was it? No, it wasn't Fred Douglass. Fred Douglass didn't go to college.
No, he didn't go to college.
Hubert Harrison?
No, it wasn't Hubert Harrison, even though I would put him over in terms of intelligence. He was sharper than Du Bois. Du Bois always gets the credit. But who was the black man that outdid him and got the key and got the top award at Harvard when he graduated? They were together in school. They was in school together at Harvard together.
I mean, wasn't he born yet?
No, it was Trotter. William Monroe Trotter.
I was getting ready to say try.
No, you get ready to say it? Should have said it. William Monroe Trotter. He was the black man who said, I'm not going to be a part of an organization that's controlled by white men. And he walked away. And he was real good friends with Du Bois. They became rivals later. They became rivals. And so, obviously things that you might have read where he criticized Du Bois as being bougie and believing in this talented 10%, and the way he looked at things, totally different from William Monroe Trotter. You know, when that movie came out, Birth of a Nation, it was William Monroe Trotter that went city to city, state to state, organizing boycotts, going after white elected officials, demanding to mayors not to show that movie in their town. Matter of fact, William Monroe Trotter had the distinct pleasure of being thrown out of the White House. Who was in the White House at the time?
Russell and B. Hayes. Sounds like Wilson.
It was Woodrow Wilson.
He was about to say Wilson.
It was Woodrow Wilson. And he went into the White House, and obviously he went there for more than a photo op. As with most Negroes that go to the White House, they're there for a photo op. And that's about it. And they show everybody later. You know, you ever see high school girls everywhere they go, they doing selfies? Well, I'm just saying high school, because there's some grown folks that do it too. But let's just blame it on high school girls for these purposes. You know, so most Negroes that go to the White House go there for photo ops. They want to be, so when you see big time preachers, when they around having their chicken wings and stuff, they show other
pork chops.
Pork chops and all that. They show, look, man, I was at the White House. Well, William Monroe Trotter, when he went there, he didn't go there for a photo op. He got right to the business and told Woodrow Wilson, how dare you? We supported you, and the black community got you in on. And you're going to turn around and fire and segregate the federal employees that were black. And then, and when he did that, I'm going to tell you, they had words. It must have been some F-bombs tossed across that table. And he told the security to throw him out. That's a badge of honor. If you get thrown out by Woodrow Wilson, you know, I don't know if he was a card-carrying Klan, but you talking about somebody that hated black folks? Now, he was well-loved when he was the president of Princeton. Well loved. When he was president of Princeton. Well loved as a governor in New Jersey. They didn't know the Southern sympathies he carried with him. Well, that all came out when he got to that White House. And when he got to that White House, he let people know day one, give black folks their pink slips. All these mail carriers and all these federal jobs, give them the pink slips, and then we're going to segregate them. The few that's left, they don't work by themselves. They ain't working around white folks. They should not. He said they need to be in the field somewhere, picking cotton. And so that's what Monroe Trotter was dealing with. So anyway, Monroe Trotter was the black man, not the boys. It was William Monroe Trotter who went all over the place fighting against Birth of a Nation. I think the original play was The Klansman. It was a novel that turned into a play, that turned into a movie. And William Monroe Trotter was just so bold. He sort of like comes in the mold of a Dr. Khalid Muhammad. And that's why black people stayed away from him. He was never really supported after a while. He started losing support, and unfortunately, eventually he was taken out of the history books. As the brilliant, bold black man that he was, because if people can't be seen around you, nobody's gonna walk around and saying, I'm scared of that guy. I'm scared to be associated with him. Therefore, they dismiss you. You know, so, and that happens quite often. That happened to Walter Maddox, that happened to Dr. Khalid Muhammad, who was sanctioned by the U.S. Congress, in the House and in the Senate. Congressional Black Caucus was among them that voted against Dr. Khalid, that he should be silenced. I didn't even know that. That's really outlawed. I told you last time what it was. I'm not going to tell you that again. What is that called? When you're censured like that.
Bill of Attainder. That's
Yes, say it again, brother. Go ahead, tell me.
A Bill of Attainder.
It's a Bill of Attainder.
It is a law against an individual.
Now, in England, when you have a Bill of Attainder, it's a death sentence. Dr. Khalid Muhammad was given a death sentence. That was a Bill of Attainder. He's a private citizen. How does the Congress vote unilaterally to silence him? Now, Minister Farrakhan did silence him. He suspended him. And now he's without an organization. You should never be caught without an organization. Not to be intrusive, but is there anybody in this room that's not a member of an organization? Raise your hand. If you are not a member of any organization, raise your hand. As a matter of fact, you don't have to raise your hand. I'll just say this. If you're not a member of an organization, you're treading down a dangerous path. If you're not a member of an organization, you have to be a member of something. You cannot be an island unto yourself, or you'll get picked off just like that. Every day you hear of somebody that was killed, hung somewhere by some supremacist organization, shot by law enforcement. You see that happening every day. And then you see somebody on TV crying. A mother's crying over her son, and she wants everybody now to stop what they're doing and support her. She's not a member of an organization. But now she wants black people to come out of their house come out wherever they have on their own time and support her because her son was killed and the district attorney is not going to press charges against the police officers that shot her. Well, she set herself up by not being a member of an organization. And even if she does, let's say she goes to church. Most churches are not going to involve themselves in that. You know that. They're not going to do that.
No. Money's too good.
Everybody's not a Johnny Ray Youngblood or a William Augustus Jones.
Right.
Most churches are not going to do that.
No, sir.
The church pastor is going to tell that sister who's been paying her tithes and giving offerings all the years,
Give it to God.
you know what they're going to say? We praying for you, sister. That's what the pastor's going to say.
You City Hall Monday
We're praying for
morning.
you. Come down, we can come down this Wednesday, we're going to be praying for you. This Sunday, we're going to do a special prayer for you.
That's $3 to get on the subway.
Now imagine a black man who's starving and needs something to eat, and the pastor tells them, we praying for you. How does that impact a community with just prayers? Now, prayers without work is dead. That's what the Bible said. Prayers without work is dead. Now, in terms of counterintelligence, the FBI was in its infant stage. It was the military intelligence division that more or less went through the black community and studied, looking for people that needed to be isolated, finding out was blacks trying to form unions, finding out who was showing dissent in the black community. So Dr. King's father was investigated.
Yeah.
Back then, Dr. King's father, Daddy King. Adam Clayton Powell's father was investigated by MIT. And this is when Abyssinia was downtown, before they moved to Harlem. Why was he investigated? Because he's a prominent preacher that was feeding black people. You can come to Abyssinia and get a meal. They always looked at, if you feed black people, what else you feed? Just remember, and I'm going to get ahead of myself. The reason why the FBI clamped down so hard on the Black Panther Party was because of that breakfast program.
Yeah. Right.
See, I know to some of you, you can't make that connection. Saying, well, they had guns. They was talking about kill the pig, off the pig. You know, they were in military formation marching. They wore the black leather jackets, the black tam, and the black, the jeans, boots, black leather jacket, and the tan. That image is the image of manhood. And when you see the women who dress like that also, that was serious discipline. Wow, women are disciplined. They ain't worried about their nails and their hair. Different ball game. Well, why am I saying that breakfast program was a straw that broke the camel's back? Because they could work against that image. That image is not hard when you have existing weaknesses. As a people, we have existing weaknesses. Most of us want to do things similar to the way Dr. King did. Don't want to do it the way Malcolm did. God. Want to do it the way Dr. King. We're going to pray, we're going to have some meetings, we're going to meet at the church, then we're going to march, and when we march, we're going to be singing some songs about the Lord. That's the way they sort of made us, with the heavy emphasis on nonviolence, But they know deep down, because they studied us, like I said. I told you the white man studied bees, studied ants, studied various animals, especially presidents, know it back and forth. They know that image. You know, I don't know if y'all know Marcia, sister to you. Her organization is banned the N-word. Marcia once said to me, she said, man, on community cop, y'all are strong. She said, you're not used to seeing strong black men in business attire on TV. She said, your image is strong. She said, I love it. She said, I would love to see y'all do a show with dashikis on. I said, so would the enemy. So would the enemy.
Why is that?
Because the reason why the white man can't say nothing to us and we don't get that same blowback is because not only do we have a law enforcement background, so they can't say, well, that's just a disgruntled Negro with a record. You know, he been locked up so many times. That's why they making these baseless charges against us, because they got a record, they're failures. Well, they can't say that to us. They can't say we don't know what we're talking about. They would love to see us with dashikis, and half of y'all would dismiss us. And say, look, they got on t-shirts, baseball caps, and one of them got a dashiki on. And just laugh us out of the house. And just forget all we said. No. We're not going to give you that excuse. We're going to come to you the same way you listen on Sundays when white men are discussing what's the issue in America. They got on suits and ties. Meet the press and all those various, you know, shows that come out of DC. You know, other places, NBC, CBS, ABC, Face the Nation.
Oh, that's right.
All those, right? What they got on? Suits and ties. So when you see us with baseball caps and dashikis on, and one of us got a baseball cap on backwards, now you ain't gonna listen to us no more. They say, I knew it all along, man. You know, rubbish, man, rubbish. Not gonna give you that excuse. We're gonna come before you dressed the way you've been trained to listen to the white man. The same way I could tell you, don't eat white sugar, and don't eat white this or white that, white rice and white potatoes, and all that stuff. But you dismiss me. But you go in, but let a white man in a hospital that's walking around with a white jacket on. Now he might have just escaped from Bellevue or something, but he's got a white jacket on in the hospital. If he tells you, well, you're gonna have to cut your sugar intake, you gonna listen, right? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But you won't listen to a black man. As a matter of fact, a buddy of mine, he does houses, he does contract work, and he was doing a place. What was he at? Somewhere out there in Midwood, somewhere doing houses, and so once he did one house, he had to do another house. He was doing bathrooms and kitchens, and they wouldn't let him off the block. Sister comes by to see somebody who lived there. It was a white person's house, and she saw the work he did, and she said, man, you really good. She said, could you do my house? And he said, no problem. He said, that's not a problem. Give me a card and I'll get back to you. And she said, how much would you charge me to do my kitchen and bathroom? I'm just going to use the number 10,000. I'll just say the number 10,000. He told her I'll do it for $10,000. I'll gut your bathroom and kitchen, do it from scratch, and it'll look like this. She said, okay. She didn't do it. She comes back another day when the boss is there. The guy who's in charge that the brother works for. And she asked him, she said, I want you to do my house. And he told her, that it was $17,000. He said, we'll do it for $17,000. She agreed to it because the way he made the bathroom and the kitchen look, she agreed to, now this is a Jew. This is a Jew now. And so when the time came, he sent his person over there. It was the black man. She thought it was going to be the actual Jew doing the work. He don't do no work. He's just a middleman. He has people subcontracting. Yeah. So when the brother came to her house and she seen him and said, I remember you. You was doing such and such house. She said, yeah. All that work, she said, all them houses on that block, I did it. She said, but you told me that I would do the house, that you would do my house for $10,000. He said, sister, that was my price for you. You went to my boss. Now you're going to pay $17,000. And I'm going to do the work. That's an existing weakness in our people.
Sure is.
White folks' sugar is sweeter than ours.
Same thing
Their ice is cold.
Same thing happened to him. Same thing happened to him. Bunch of brothers came into his dojo, asked him how much. I think Master Dickens said something ridiculously cheap, like just bring me some chicken wings or something. And they never came back. Then they went over to Henry Cho, and like $50 less than Grandmaster. And they paid Henry Cho the money. And who do you think comes out going,
Same thing.
Same thing.
Wow. So I'm just saying, in other words, we have an existing weakness. And the white folks have studied us well enough knowing that. So now, they know what we're capable of doing and what we're not capable of doing. Consequently, when they saw the Black Panther Party do a breakfast program, they said, oh, no. This is so far away from their image. In other words, the Black Panther Party are feeding babies. What mother is going to dislike someone that's feeding their babies? Said, no. This is going against their image. We like that image of Huey sitting in that chair with that rifle. We like it. We don't like watching rough, tough Black Panthers feeding grits and eggs, breakfast orange juice to little kids before they go to school. Because first of all, they know that you can't perform well if you go to school without food in your stomach. You're not going to think well by 11 or 12 o'clock. Any test you took around that time, you're going to fail because you're hungry. So what did they do? They said, we got to make a move on the Black Panther Party even sooner now because they get dangerous. They're teaching kids martial arts for free. They're not charging. You learn in judo, karate, jiu-jitsu for free. So you're teaching them babies how to defend themselves and you're not charging. You feed them in the morning, you feed them at night. Now you even pulling in dope fiends that have a heroin problem and you're doing, what's that called? Acupuncture. You treating them with acupuncture, and that in turn is going to stop career heroin addicts from taking the heroin. And they won't go through the same pain syndromes because of the acupuncture. Well, that's why Matu Shakur ended up in jail, because he was one of the ones headed.
Detox up in the Bronx.
Yeah. Right. So I'm saying when you do health edifying things like that, you become more dangerous. Because now I can't put you in that box with, oh, all they want to do, they talk about shooting cops. Well, you're not going to join an organization who's bent on shooting cops. But you will join an organization that's feeding babies. You will join an organization that's getting dope needles out of black men and women's arms. They understood that. So that's why they moved on the Black Panther Party. Now, I think I gotta stop now and take the break. Ray, do I stop now? Or should I keep going? Okay, Ray here. Keep going?
I heard that, Keisha. You go for 10 more minutes.
No. Let everybody get some beverages. You just went and got a beverage. Let everybody go get a beverage and we'll pick it right back up. There are beverages, there are cold drinks, there's watermelon, there's some snacks. Y'all go enjoy yourselves and then we'll pick it up.
Speak for another 10 minutes, and then he's going to open up the floor for question and answer.
Okay, let's get started. I want to go through a few things real quickly, and then we can go to Q&A because many of you were asking me about, questions that we'll save for the Q&A during the time of the break. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, God of our weary years, God of our silent tears. That kind of capsulizes where we at and where we were going. Now, Cabral said, mask no difficulties, tell no lies, claim no easy victories. That's just being true and honest with yourself, understanding your faults and getting better. Do some self-introspection to get better. Let me just say quickly, if you notice, I'm talking from a philosophical basis about what counterintelligence is. I wasn't getting into the history of COINTEL, because if I did that without giving you a basis, then you would just know this happened to this person and this happened to this person, but you won't understand why, and more importantly, you wouldn't understand what were the conditions that allowed an FBI, a police department, a sheriff's department, able to penetrate your organization so easily. We have to understand that, and when we understand that, it will improve us and make us better for the future. Now, let me just give you a couple of principles of the COINTEL program, and then you see why I shape this way instead of just going right into the COINTEL program. The goals: prevent the coalition of militant black nationalist groups. Prevent the rise of a messiah who could unify and electrify black militants. All right? Prevent militant black nationalist groups and leaders from gaining respectability by discrediting them in the community. Prevent long-range growth among black youth. Remember what I said about feeding you?
Yeah.
Remember what I said about the credibility you will have if you taking dope needles out of their arms? If you were teaching youth karate, judo, jiu-jitsu, you know how that would make their parents feel? Consequently, that gives you credibility. What's the goal of the counterintelligence program? Destroy credibility. Discredit them. Now, Nixon made it even better. He called when he was doing a war on drugs.
Yeah.
But Ehrlichman admitted it was a war on black people. It was a way to use the federal government to break into black houses, to break into black organizations, disrupt and destroy and discredit along the way. So it's kind of hard to discredit a black man, even if he has on a black leather jacket, a tan, black boots, and jeans if he's feeding your children? Now, if the goal is to penetrate, discredit, predict what's going to happen, that's why I started out with these terms about predictability, calculate, because, and plausible, because you want to know what's plausible and what you can plausibly deny if you get caught. You know, there was a brother on Guild Noble who was rather candid and admitted that he destroyed the Black Theater, the whole set that he helped build.
Black Writers Workshop, right?
Yes.
The Black Writers Workshop on the West Coast.
John Parker.
Yeah. So, I'm saying that to say that more often than not, they're going to use black hands for a lot of their deeds. Obviously, even then, they had the technology. The Military Intelligence Division used spin guard and others. Then you had William Donovan, so-called Wild Bill Donovan of the OSS, the precursor to the present CIA. You had the Bureau of Investigation, before it became the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It was just run by political hacks. What are political hacks? People who knew congressmen, people who knew somebody, got the job, no, not J. Edgar Hoover, got that job in the FBI, it was nothing. It was J. Edgar Hoover that turned it into something of note. Before that, as I said, it was the Military Intelligence Division that was the top investigative agency in America. When Hoover, who was working in the Attorney General's office, and I do have the name in my notes if I want to look for it, it doesn't matter. He saw the brilliance of this young upstart working very, very hard, gathering information. And he even asked him, you know, why do you work so hard to get this information? And when I ask you just to get this, you come back with 10 times what I asked you. He said, it's about information. It's what he's telling the Attorney General. It's about information. And when you get that information, you got it. He said, oh, I got the person I've been looking for. He said, I'm going to take you and put you over the Bureau of Investigation. J. Edgar Hoover said to him, am I just a figurehead, or are you giving me the power to run the Federal Bureau, no, then the Bureau of Investigation? He said, I wouldn't do that to you. I'm putting you there because I want you in charge. One of the first things he did is that instead of getting all these guys fresh out of college, he got retired cops. Guys who know how to give a person a tune-up and open them up to whatever they needed to know. Got some real roughnecks. Started getting guys who can hit the street and get that information instead of guys who just had good college scores. Then he started shaping it in his image. So I know there are people who like to say things like, instead of saying J. Edgar Hoover, they say things like J. Edgar Hoover, and they tease that man. They make a mockery of that man, and he laid waste to literally every black organization in this country that he focused on. So if you think you're getting back at him by calling him names, well, you're sadly mistaken. That man was brilliant. He was wickedly brilliant, and he destroyed black organizations all over the country. So, you know, if you want to trivialize it and say, oh, that gay, that cross-dresser, you call him all you want.
Wasn't he black?
I'm not even worried about whether he's black right now. he did have a black parent. Because when you see his mother, there was a picture that they left, that they took off the newsstand of his mother. She wasn't black, but you could see the mix there. So you'd have to find pictures of the grandparents. But they got rid of them and destroyed all those pictures that was in the newsstand. Now he lived with his mother his whole life until she passed. And she was the one that you could see it in. I've heard people say, well, if you look at him close and look at his lips, well, that's a point of conjecture, but certainly his mother might have had some of our blood in it.
One drop, man.
You know.
Coming back to one drop.
So this might be true, but the thing is, he hated black people and made it a point to destroy black leaders. He first made his bones on the socialists, the communists, and he was so good at it, disrupting communists, jailing them, finding out who was who, that the Attorney General said, man, you got all the power you want. He even impressed the presidents of his day. He was so vicious that when he focused on Garvey, they gave him a green light to go after Garvey. Well, some of the people that I mentioned earlier were a part of Garvey's demise. Among them, Du Bois.
Yeah.
Du Bois told the Attorney General's office, lock him up and deport him. And he didn't say it that nice. There were other black leaders, all against God.
We know the types.
National and internationally. Garvey was a force to be reckoned with. And they went after Garvey. They used trumped up charges, mail fraud. Like I said, they deal with existing weaknesses. They don't have to reinvent the wheel. That's how they got Garvey on mail fraud. He was selling bonds, as you know, all of you know, that Reginald Garvey. He sold bonds, and only white people are allowed to sell bonds. They don't allow blacks, and obviously y'all know that, right? Y'all know he ain't do nothing that white folks ain't do. White folks sell bonds all the time. He sold bonds, and those bonds were for him to buy the ships that was going to eventually take us back to Africa. And it was nothing illegal about it. Nobody did complain until Hoover got people to go after Garvey and say, well, I sent them to find dollars, and all I got is a piece of paper. But that's what you're supposed to do. That piece of paper was going to get you on the ship eventually. When it came, you get on the ship and take you to Africa. So it wasn't really fraud, but it's fraud that the government said it's fraud. So since he used the mail system, the mailing system, that's what they got him on. They didn't catch him stealing people's money and all that stuff. They used the fact that he used the mail. People mailed in their $5 from all over the country. And that's what they got him on. And they used black people's testimony, quite a few. It wasn't only the boys, it was quite a few that went after him. Now, if you want to examine why black people did it, let me just move real quickly. If you want to examine why black people did it, it varied, but Garvey had a lot of mass support, but a lot of great people who were brilliant, like Garvey, left him.
Miseducation of the Negro.
And consequently, he was without a rudder. Because we all need a compass. I don't care how smart you are, everybody needs a compass or somebody to help guide you. You need somebody to say, brother, I don't know about that. You need to pull back on this, or you need to go another way. And when you don't have that, when you have an environment where nobody can advise you, and nobody can say, brother, pull back on this. You know, let's table this for now. You're already in bad trouble. Already. So they were able to destroy the godly movement because of instruction. Because instruction was based on the magnetism and the charismatic energy of one man. Instead of having that structure, it was based on that charisma from one man. And that's not how you build an organization. You don't build it from the top down, you build it from the bottom up. And consequently, Garvey was in hot water, and instead of having support, they had black people telling the Attorney General's office, telling the Justice Department to lock him up and deport him. He was dangerous. If I give you some of the quotes, but I'm kind of pressed for time. Okay. I will look at the quotes of some of the people that appealed to Garvey for him to be deported. Emmett Scott was among them, and obviously you know Emmett Scott was one of the, you know, him and Moulton. These are guys that started the Boule. They were used. You had well, there's quite a few. Well, that Clyde Tosin in the movie used, but suffice it to say that these are people that some of them on their own, but they were not independent, chose to move on Garvey, and Garvey was eventually locked up and eventually deported, and the movement, for all intents and purposes, was over. Even though the UNIA still exists to this very day, they meet in Queens, but they are not what they once were. They had somewhere between 2 and 10 million. And yeah, but go ahead. We can go with questions.
I just want to ask, when he died in Europe, Garvey?
He died in England.
Not even in England.
He was not popular at that time in Jamaica. And for some reasons, some obvious reasons, some reasons that are not real obvious. For one thing, at that time, you could not be in leadership and be as dark as Garvey in Jamaica. Jamaica still to this very day love light-skinned black men or white men in leadership. A white man from Boston used to be their president.
That's right.
All Caribbean countries are like that, though. All Caribbean countries are like that.
For the most part, they are all victims of stratification, where they are been indoctrinated into worshiping the lighter the skin, the better it is. And that's unfortunate, but that's conditioning. We've all had a form of conditioning, and so Jamaica is not by itself. Quite a few people, you know, I mean, we still got people. Yeah, well, we still got people to this day that believe that if you dark skin, how intelligent can you be? You know, and it's odd that you mentioned that, Bryce, that there was a brown bag test.
Yeah.
Everybody remember the brown bag test?
Yeah, still going on.
That, let's say if you wanted to get into Howard, or you wanted to get into Fisk, Atlanta, you know, they had the brown bag test, where they actually, you remember that you used to shop, they used to have those brown bags?
Yeah.
I mean, most of the times it's plastic now, but remember the brown bag? They put the brown bag up against your face. When you sent in a college application, applying for a school, you know you had to go up there if they didn't see your picture. They would have you come up. Now, if you was Master Dinkins' complexion, you would have to have congressman, U.S. senator, or somebody in banking, somebody that's got some prestige, to say you okay, and you can get in the highway looking like Master Dinkins. But you just not gonna walk up at the highway like Master Dinkins without nobody vouching for you. That wasn't gonna happen. You say, well, Michael, you gotta be wrong, that's a black school. No, the record bears it out. That's a fact. That they had a brown bag test for jobs, for educational opportunities. And Bryce, you were barely a man. You'd have to stay out of the sunshine for a while. You were barely a man.
Hey, Mike, you want to break down the bootleg for the brothers and sisters that don't know?
No, I don't have to break it down. We have a knowledgeable crowd here. Somebody tell me about the bootleg. Who's the bootleg? Quickly.
Those Negroes were working service to white folks.
Yeah, but that's a whole lot of people. We want to know the bootleg.
And they were well paid. Came out of Philadelphia.
Okay, the bootleg has Greek fraternal letters.
Yeah.
It's a secret society. It's a secret society shaped after skull and bones, specifically. Y'all got that?
Yeah.
Skull and Bones primarily comes out of Yale. Not solely, but primarily is a white secret society, one of the most powerful ones. It comes out of Yale University, either grad or undergrad. All the Bushes are Skull and Bones, and so many other very, very powerful families are Skull and Bones. The Boule is a black offshoot. In other words, if you're in the Boule, you can only be a gatekeeper. But that's powerful for a black man. That's like you it as a black man. Now name some Boules. Don't start out with the one that's in jail now, Bill Cosby.
Jesse.
Jesse is Boule. Of course, Bill Cosby's Boule.
John Johnson is
Vern Jones, oh definitely, he's Boule.
John Johnson is Boule.
Yes.
David Dinkins.
Dinkins is Boule. Name the only black governor of Virginia. What's his name? Doug Wilder. Boule. Obama? Well, I would say Boule. He has a Boule staff. I don't know if he had it then, but he certainly does.
Vernon Jordan.
He has a Boule name. I think he's his name, Vernon Jordan, yeah. Clinton's boy. So, Boule is an offshoot black secret society specifically designed to be the gatekeepers for Skull and Bone. They handle the black problems. They hand out the black prestigious jobs, and most of the people who came straight out of college, and then before you could blink your eyes, they were millionaires and became heads of billion-dollar corporations of Boule. And then they had, yeah, it's men. Now, they have comparable things that some women are involved in, but the Boule is men. It's a secret society of men. Now, these black men, not only do they hold various power. Now, who's the I don't like giving all the answers, but I want y'all to get it. Who's the black congressman who's Boule that was killed?
What?
Ron Brown.
No, I said congressman. Ron Brown was the head of the Democratic Party. Come on now. ML. Come on, I'm helping you. ML. Mickey Leland. Y'all. Now, he was Boule, and he was killed because he was bringing food as a congressman from Texas. He was bringing food to Africa.
Right.
He was told by Skull and Bones, stop. Said, you're embarrassing America because you feed them. We're the ones that dictate who eats. We will give out food at our pleasure. Stop doing it. Mickey Leland kept doing it. And guess what? His plane ran into a mountain that's been there for 10 million years. Now explain that. Now you know full well, and you ain't got to be paranoid to understand, they can bring down your plane anytime they want to. They can control the readings on your plane, and you think you in clear open space, and you go and head right into a mountain. That's what happened to Mickey Leland. But he was warned. He was told several times. Dr. King, who was Boule, was told similar things. Slow it down, Doc. Fall back a little bit. You know, fall back on this poor people stuff. You know, you can do that, we shall overcome, but wait. You gotta fall back now. You know, and supporting black sanitation workers. You don't have these black thinking that they are union people and that they have the same power that other unions have.
It's in your hand.
So, you know, what about the other bootleg? Wilson Good.
Ron Brown.
Ron Brown was bootleg.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, to answer your question, it's an offshoot of Skull and Bones, and some of the most prominent names one can imagine is Boule, and one of theirs is in jail as we speak right now. And obviously, he didn't listen because they told him, stop insisting on buying NBC, and he insisted on buying NBC, Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
And that's when things started happening to him.
Yes, you said Dr. King was Boule?
Yes.
But he wasn't a millionaire. I mean, he wasn't a millionaire.
He chose not to be a millionaire, but he had the prestige. He had the prestige, though.
Yeah, he had the prestige.
He had the prestige. He was the point man for Black America. Very rarely will you ever see a point man for Black America that's not Boule.
But not all of them are millionaires, man.
Now Jesse is a millionaire,
Oh, Jesse.
10, 20 times over, 30 times over. He's a millionaire. And then you'll get people that have Boule status that's not scholars and didn't go to school or nothing like that. You get a guy like Shaw.
How do you explain him?
Well, because he's a tool. He's a gatekeeper.
He's controlling our position.
When you have
He's our release man.
when you have somebody like a Bloomberg, you know, $40 billion, $50 billion, when you have people like that in your corner that's speaking for you, and he tells other millionaire and billionaire developers, this is my guy. He has a calming effect on this city. It's my guy. And they take care of his taxes every time he gets the $4 or $5 million behind the taxes. They take care of it. You know, he's got that honorary status. What's the guy that ran City Corp and American Express, all that? What?
Ken Chanel.
No, not Chanel. Chanel is Boule too, but what's the other one?
Michael Thomas?
No, the one who I said got sharped into that tobacco.
Oh, the boy, Queens, fat brown hair boy.
I forgot his name. I just got his brain right now. But he's Boule. That guy, he's run on major corporations. He ran Citibank.
He hit it off.
That's some dude with the glasses. Comes here TV all the time.
He was the head of Time Warner. He was the head of Time Warner.
Yeah.
He's an
Time Warner. Yeah.
Oh, he's talking about.
What?
We got his name.
Yeah, he was the head of Time Warner.
Jones.
No, but he ran Time Warner.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I know he's talking about.
So he's run several Fortune 500 companies, and Time Warner was among them.
Yeah.
He was the one that got Sharpton into that club in Manhattan. We couldn't get in. Sharpton was trying for years to get in, and what's his name? His name was He just picked up a phone.
Dick Parsons.
Dick Parsons.
Parsons.
His wife is
Parsons.
Picked up the phone and said, "Hey."
Yeah, just like that. Sharpton over lunch with him, told him, man, I've been trying to get into that tobacco club. There's 3 prominent ones in Manhattan where you can actually smoke inside the building. They have what you call them? What's that called?
Humidors. Humidors.
What is it called?
Humidors.
Humidors. They're humidors. I went there, me and a member of 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement, we went to meet Sharpton. And Sharpton wanted to show off to us and show us the club he was in. So he said, wow, meet me at such and such and such and such. I'll leave your name at the door. And then we actually, when we went downstairs, they stopped us and we gave them our names and said, oh, well, y'all going up to the 48th floor. And they made us put these patches, these whatever, on us. It sticks to you, one of them things. They give it to you, you put it on. And you go upstairs, and they had these stainless steel things that goes like a block long, and they had every expensive cigar in the world inside. It's called a humidor. Stainless steel, and then glass over that. So you got to open the glass, and then you got to open the steel doors, and then they'll give you the cigar. And the girls there are scantily dressed. None of the girls are over 21. They're like 18 to 21 years old, white girls, scantily dressed. You can see their breasts. You can see everything they got on. It looked like they got on bikinis on. And they're asking you, what would you like? Now, what is a millionaire gonna say if when a 21-year-old white girl say, is there anything I can give you, anything you need? First thing he gonna do, right? You know what a man gonna do first when you ask him, right? He's gonna look at his watch, see how much time he got. That's real. I mean, that's real. So he's gonna look at his watch and he's gonna say, what time do you get over? I see you at such and such. But at the meantime, go get me such and such. That's whatever's on the menu. He gonna order his food and tell her what kind of cigar to bring in.
So where do you sign up to sell out?
Well, Brother Dick Parsons gonna have to get you up there. You know, it's not easy to get up there. We got up there, we left our name, we went up there, and he asked us what we were smoking. I said, no, we don't smoke. Wanted us to eat. We could have ate anything. They got all kind of food. That's what Giuliani, other millionaires, the power people in New York, where they go to lunch. When you see guys jumping limousines, those are the places they're going. But you know, Sharpton has done everything to destroy. He helped destroy from a distance the Freedom Party, which we tried to organize. It was Sharpton that brought it down. Just to give you some inside stuff a little bit, it was Sharpton that brought down Patterson. If I got a minute, I can explain. I got time.
You're talking about David Patterson?
Yeah.
You're talking about David Patterson?
David Patterson.
Okay.
David Patterson was obviously, as you know, through succession of the charter when Spitzer had to step down from the position with respect to the charter, that elevated the lieutenant governor to governor. So he was actually the governor of the most powerful state in the Union. He, at the same time, not the Democratic Party as much, but it was actually Andrew Cuomo who was plotting to take over. Now, he wanted to be the governor before Spitzer, but Spitzer beat him out. And you know, there's an organized crime element to all this too. I don't have time to explain all that, but we'll take that for another time. But let me explain to you what happened. Patterson was a good guy. They took Patterson. Patterson would have been the third guy in the room. He would have been the majority leader of the Senate. They didn't want him to be the majority leader of the Senate. So they told him to take this job, run with Spitzer, and be his lieutenant general. Lieutenant governor. Now, that's a ceremonial position. You go to weddings, funerals, you represent the governor, and whatever he don't want to make. It's only a good position if the governor has a heart attack or something like that. Because governors don't normally lose their jobs. So you take a ceremonial position, or you be Senate Majority Leader of that August body. So you one of 3 men in a room that divides that budget. You know, whatever, 160, 180, $200 billion, you cut it up. It's always been, the history is 3 white guys in a room. Now, you got 2 black guys in that room because you had Malcolm Smith from Queens got the position, and you had Patterson. White folks said, oh no, this got to go. So they got rid of Malcolm easy because, you know, Negroes like cheese. So they caught him grabbing cheese, got him out of there real quick, because see, they know what you do because they did it before you. So they got rid of Malcolm real easy. Now, the problem was, how do you get Dinkins out there? Because he's a sitting governor. Sitting governors are extremely powerful. So they said, well, you know, we don't have enough. What's that? I mean, Patterson. I said, Dinkins. That's his father-in-law, because I was getting ready to say how he came to his aid later on, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll tell you why I said Dinkins. So what they did with Patterson, because that's his godfather. What he did was, Cuomo started having salacious stories being put in all the major press about Patterson. So they started saying things like, he's having a rendezvous on the other side of the Hudson. No. First,
New Jersey.
on the other side, in Hudson, on the other side of the Hudson, in New Jersey. He's going over to GWB to have an affair. And New York's answer would be, so what? So what? So that wasn't strong enough. So they said, no. They also mentioned he got a little candy problem. Because that was in his past. I don't know that he, at that time, if he had a candy problem, he might have had a taste for it, but it wasn't problematic. He was still able to govern. That's a fact. Okay?
See a little better.
So he was able to govern. But then they got, well, what Keisha said. They said, no. He's not even doing the stuff, you know, across the Hudson. He's hitting girls in his office. And not even in his office. He's got a sickness where he goes into the, a closet. What is it called? A utility closet. Where you know you have little odds and ends in a room where, you know, you look for something, it's in that room. He allegedly was going into a utility room with secretaries and stuff and having sex with them in that room. Where he has an office that he could lock. Now you understand that? He has an office that he can lock and nobody can come in, but he don't like it there. It's not exciting enough for him there. So he's using a closet where everybody's outside trying to type and hearing all this stuff going on in there. So they making salacious stories like that. So now, that's out there in the press. Then they start talking about real quickly about he's letting black people get involved in that racetrack out there. Aqueduct. And then they even made an issue of a sitting governor watching the Yankees play. They had the nerve to ask him, did you pay for your ticket? Now, did they ever ask Giuliani, did he pay for his ticket? So suddenly, that became a problem. Okay? That became a problem. Governor Patterson going to a Yankees game. So with all these things swirling to make this quick, he's not made out of some of the stuff you were made out of. Because I know somebody here is saying, man, that ain't enough to step down. It's not enough for you. He ain't made out of that stuff. You got to remember, first of all, David Patterson is not from Harlem. He was a state senator from Harlem. He grew up in Long Island. Way out there. He's not from Harlem. He ain't run the same streets you and I ran. He's from Long Island.
We're in Brooklyn, in Long Island.
So, in any event, he wasn't made out of the right stuff, and they knew that. How did they know? Because they assess everybody. They know your weaknesses and strengths. Just because you did something outside your marriage, you ain't got to talk about it. That's between you and your wife.
Right.
But he caved in and talked about it. He caved in and admitted that he had a candy problem. Caved in. They knew he was weak. And it doesn't help having, you know, a bad vision. He was legally blind. He wasn't blind, but legally he was. So, and he grew up bushing. Consequently, he wasn't made out of the right stuff. Sharpton was on assignment to destroy him because he was working for Cuomo, his good friend, who he met with 3-4 times a week to go over this strategy. Sharpton called a meeting at Sylvia's. And at that meeting at Sylvia's, he called all the black elected officials there. Every black elected official in the town was there at Sylvia's in the back room. While he was there, and I'm going to wrap this up right here. While he was there, they were supposed to do a thumbs up or a thumbs down on whether Patterson stays governor. Now, has Sharpton ever done that with any other governor?
No.
Would anybody ever dare do that with any other governor?
No.
Well, Sharpton was on assignment. So 100 blacks in law enforcement that morning, we had a press conference in front of the Harlem State Office building. All the press in the city was there. And we said, Governor Patterson has not committed any crimes. We made that clear. Adultery is not a crime. Made that crystal clear. And we said that Albany is manageable. He's the governor, he's not committed any crimes, and he should be allowed to stay in his position, and that for these handkerchief-head coons who are going to be meeting the Sylvia's later today, they should all be ashamed of themselves. I said, because they're going to give them a thumbs down. We were told by one of Sharpton's people, I won't say who because I'll be giving you inside information that I can't do. But we got it straight from the horse's mouth, from one of his people said he got to go, and 100 blacks, what's up with y'all? Y'all can't do this. Y'all cannot support Governor Patterson. Y'all can't do it. Everybody's agreed he got to go. Said, well, y'all had that agreement without us. We support Patterson. And we went on record. Now that night they was jammed because it was reported all day long on New York 1, 10-10 wins and everything about it's going to be a meeting that night. And at that meeting, they're going to give Patterson a thumbs down. This is all coming out of Cuomo, who was Attorney General at the time. Well, that night they couldn't do it. And the reason why, Brother Christian, why I mentioned David Dinkins, that's his godfather. Because you got to remember, they all part of the Gang of Four that ran Harlem, that was given Harlem after they got rid of Adam Clayton Powell. So that Gang of Four, David Dinkins came to David Patterson's aid and said, no, man, give him another chance. He said, look, y'all can't do a thumbs down on him. It'll destroy him politically. And so what David Patterson did was he completed his term, but didn't run again. And since the Democratic Party owed Patterson because he was a loyal guy, kept his nose clean, always went along with them, and rose to the rank of Senate Majority Leader. Since he did that, they would have had to support him had he ran again, but he stepped down because he ain't made out of stuff that some of the warriors in this room is made out of, and that's how Cuomo became governor. I want to give you some more inside stuff, but Ray is giving me the gas money, so I'm going to stop.
Unfortunately, the next part 2 would be the 14th of August. You're welcome to be here. You want to do your own research on anything that was said?
Yes.
If you don't believe them, anything that anybody has said in here, you have the ability to go read your books, do your information, come back here and say you're a goddamn lie. That's up to you. Any information that was given out, any community events, you can come to and whatever. If you have any something you want to bring at the next lecture, you can be there. But one of the most important things is that we're able to get together as a people.
That's right.
And that's what is very much important. Getting together as a people. Now, one of the things in the book, the book right here is after they did and I only read a chapter and a half, so I didn't read the whole thing. After they did the riot and tried to take over, and eventually it came to a close. Whites were killed, blacks were hung. The city of New York, 2 blacks could not stand together without a white person being there. Another thing that they did, they stopped all Christian doctrine of blacks even worshiping Christianity. They stopped it. They said it is not allowed. In the book. Number 3, the bars, the Irish bars that we could not go into. One of the guys' name was Hobbs, and he was trying to make some money. He was serving white man's poison to the black folks, slaves, property, cattle. And they said, or Matt Johnson said, if you keep them drunk, they will not think about revolution. So if you keep us high, we will not think about revolution in the 60s. If you keep us drunk, you will not think about revolution. You start music. You start seminating. The music industry. It's in the book. All right. I want to thank you for coming. Hope to see you.
Barry, let me just get one thing. I meant to, I'm sorry we lost time because I was allowing questions all along. So I didn't get into how they destroyed the Black Panther Party and how they were able to destroy then the Nation of Islam, and then explain how the Nation of Islam came back, how they came back later, which is one of the only organizations that survived FBI penetration. But I'll explain that the next time I have the opportunity. But I'll get into specific cases of Counterintelligence.
We only got now.
Okay, so
we got
we want to
now.
thank everybody just for being here and being amongst us. And I hope you felt real comfortable just being with you folks. And we'll be here the 14th, and it's just good to be together.
Yes,
Whoever hasn't contributed, if you feel like it, just put something in here, we provide refreshments. And give Mike $50. Coming out to see that book.
Had a great call.
We want to give the speaker a couple of dollars for coming out for your struggle. And I want to thank everybody and give yourself a hand. Unfortunately, Alton didn't be here. He called me. I think he called me about the steps. You called me, right?
Yeah.
He was worried about the steps.
Yeah.
Coming downstairs and it started raining. So maybe that was one of the reasons. Because he's getting around, but he's not getting around the way he used to.
Can't walk too long?
He's
No, he
getting
doesn't
around,
walk
but
around.
he's not the way he used to. But eventually, he'll probably come down here. But it's good that everybody came.
You got his number.
And I'm going to try to get the Professor Mackey's book down home so you can know more about Professor Mackey. I'm going to try to
get in touch with the publishing company so you could get some more information on Professor William Macri. And thank you very much.